famous designer refuses black woman at boutique. She buys the whole store. Welcome to No Justice Nation, where you will find true black stories. It was a warm Friday afternoon in Los Angeles. The streets buzzed with the sounds of high-end vehicles humming by and stilettos clicking across expensive pavement. The sun bounced off glistening storefronts on Rodeo Drive, a haven for the rich, the powerful, and the world-renowned. Among the crowd was a woman named Amina Walker. She didn't look like what people expected when they imagined wealth. She wasn't wearing a flashy designer label across her chest. No entourage. No PR agent trailing behind. Just a sleek, black silk jumpsuit, natural hair tied up in a gold-threaded scarf, and eyes that had seen the boardrooms of Fortune 500 companies and never flinched. Amina was a billionaire, but no one looking at her would have known, and that was exactly how she liked it. Her wealth was earned, not inherited. Raised by a single mother in Atlanta, Amina fought tooth and nail for her success. From tutoring neighborhood kids to pay for her books, to sleeping in her car during college just to save rent money, Amina climbed the ladder alone. And when she made it, she didn't shout it. She simply continued her work, quiet, intentional, and unstoppable. That day, she had one simple goal: to treat herself to a new outfit from one of the most exclusive luxury fashion houses on the Strip, Maison Renard, a French designer brand known for their bold couture, celebrity clientele, and sky-high price tags. The boutique was modern, white marble walls glowing in the sunlight. A doorman in a crisp black suit stood like a statue outside the glass door, scanning each person who approached. As Amina stepped forward, he didn't move. She smiled. "Hi there, I'd like to take a look inside." He looked her up and down, gaze pausing just a second too long at her skin, her scarf, the lack of a brand-name bag. "We're appointment only today, ma'am," he said flatly. Her smile didn't fade. "I actually checked online. Your site says walk-ins are welcome until 4. It's only 2:30. He shifted, clearing his throat. "Well, we're full now." Behind him, through the glass, 2 white women were being escorted in by a smiling associate. Amina watched them glide past displays of diamond-encrusted heels and fur-trimmed jackets. She turned back. "So you're full, but they got in?" "They're regular clients. VIPs," he said quickly, adding, "Our manager has discretion." "And your manager is—" "She's inside, and she's busy. I'm sorry. Have a nice day." It wasn't the first time this had happened to her, not by a long shot, but that didn't make it sting any less. She stepped back slowly, looked up at the tall silver letter spelling Maison Renard, the same letter she once admired in fashion magazines back in high school, dreaming that one day she might walk inside and be treated like she belonged. She turned around and walked away, but not to her car. She didn't cry, didn't argue, didn't even raise her voice. No, Amina had learned long ago that the best revenge wasn't rage. It was power, and she had plenty of it. Later that evening, Amina sat in her penthouse overlooking downtown L.A. Her phone pressed her ear as her assistant spoke on the other end. "Yes, Ms. Walker. I've already drafted an offer sheet." "Good. And the owner?" "Maison Renard's L.A. boutique is owned through a shell group, but I traced the LLC. It's a private entity under the umbrella of Renard Holdings. I have the contact for their U.S. acquisitions attorney. They've entertained buyouts before." "Send the offer," Amina said calmly. "Full price. No negotiations. And make sure it's clear. It closes within 72 hours. There was a pause on the other end. "You want to own the store?" "No," Amina replied, her voice cool. "I want to own the people who thought they could deny me." Let's rewind for a moment. Amina Walker wasn't just rich. She was black excellence personified. After graduating top of her class from Spelman College, she went on to build a tech empire from the ground up. Her startup, CodeTrue, began as an app helping kids from underfunded communities learn to code. 5 years later, it was the #1 educational tech company in North America. She'd been featured on Forbes, Time, even Vogue. But that day on Rodeo Drive, none of that mattered. All the headlines, all the speeches, all the philanthropy, they didn't shield her from what so many black women faced every day: being dismissed unseen and disrespected in spaces they had more than earned their place in. So Amina made a decision. She wasn't just going to buy something from Maison Renard. She was going to buy Maison Renard. In just 3 days, the deal closed. The boutique was hers. It made headlines in the business world. Tech billionaire purchases flagship designer store in Beverly Hills, read the Wall Street Journal. Vogue wrote, "Power move. Amina Walker buys iconic fashion house's most prestigious U.S. location." But the staff of the store had no idea. Not until she walked in that Friday morning. The boutique looked exactly the same as the week before. Same white walls, same glass displays. But something was different today. Amina approached the same doorman. He looked at her, confused. "You again?" Before he could say anything else, a sleek black car pulled up, and out stepped 2 corporate reps and a lawyer in a suit. The rep smiled at the doorman. "Please open the door. This is your new boss." He blinked, then looked at Amina again. "You bought the store?" "No," Amina said, stepping past him. "I bought this location, and I own the franchise rights in California now. You work for me." Inside, the manager who refused her last time paled as she saw Amina walk in. "Can I help?" "No," Amina said, cutting her off. "You can leave. Your services are no longer needed." 2 days later, Amina posted on her social media a simple video. She stood in the center of the boutique, now transformed. Behind her, black art adorned the walls. Staff of all backgrounds smiled in the background: black, Latina, Asian, white. Inclusive, professional, talented. "I was denied service here because of how I looked," she said calmly into the camera. "Not because I lacked money. Not because I didn't belong. But because someone made an assumption. That assumption cost them everything." She paused. "Let this be a reminder. Never judge someone by their skin, their outfit, or your own bias. Because the person you look down on today might own your world tomorrow." The video went viral. Millions watched as Amina's calm takedown of racism and elitism spread across platforms. Hashtags like #BuyTheStore and #AminaEffect trended worldwide. Other brands started reassessing their training. Celebrities publicly supported her. Young girls, especially black girls, posted their own videos saying, "Amina inspires me to never accept less." But for Amina, the win wasn't just about proving a point. It was about ownership. It was about rewriting the story. It was about showing the world that being denied doesn't mean you're not worthy. Sometimes it just means they don't deserve you. Before we get to what happened next, let's go back in time. Amina Walker didn't just rise to the top by sheer chance. Her story was rooted in pain, resilience, and the lessons of generations. She was born in a small apartment in southwest Atlanta. Her mother, Evelyn Walker, worked 2 jobs, housekeeping the mornings and night shifts at a diner. They didn't have much. No father in the picture. But what they had was discipline, love, and pride. Evelyn didn't let Amina settle for mediocrity. She didn't allow her to shrink herself to make others comfortable. Evelyn taught her daughter to take up space, even when the world tried to shove her into a corner. At 6 years old, Amina was already reading at a middle school level. At 9, she was tutoring other kids in math just to help her mom afford groceries. At 14, she started a small business fixing neighbors' old laptops. She always knew she wanted to be more than what her zip code expected of her, and she was willing to do the work. When she got into Spelman College on a scholarship, she knew she was carrying her entire neighborhood on her shoulders. She never looked down on where she came from. She used it as fuel. After the video of her firing the store manager went viral, Amina became an overnight icon, not just in business, but in culture. CNN ran a special segment titled, "When Power Meets Prejudice." Essence magazine did a cover story. Amina Walker, billionaire, boss, and barrier breaker. The Breakfast Club invited her for an exclusive interview where she broke down how microaggressions, even toward black billionaires, still happen daily. One clip from the interview caught fire. Charlemagne the God. "So, you were told you weren't good enough to shop there. How does that feel as a billionaire?" Amina, it's not about being a billionaire. It's about being black. That door didn't see my net worth. It saw my skin. The moment hit hard. She wasn't just speaking for herself. She was speaking for every black person who'd been followed in the store, ignored at the counter, or had their card double-checked even after paying. She became a voice for those who couldn't clap back with cash. The original designer and founder of Maison Renard, Philippe Renard, finally issued a public statement. It was cold, carefully worded, and not received well. Maison Renard prides itself on offering a unique luxury experience. While we regret the incident at our Rodeo Drive location, it does not reflect the values of our global brand. We wish Ms. Walker success in her new ownership. No apology, no accountability, just a corporate shrug. The internet wasn't having it. Customers began canceling orders. Social media erupted with videos of people cutting up their Maison Renard bags, tagging #RenardIsOver. Fashion insiders whisper about Amina launching her own line to rival them, and when one journalist asked her if she'd ever consider it, she smiled and said, "I already have a name in mind. It'll be built by us, for us, and trust me, it'll feel like home." Under Amina's leadership, the boutique underwent a total transformation. Gone were the cold, elitist aesthetics. In their place, warmth, culture, and history. The walls showcase artwork from up-and-coming black artists. The playlist shifted from French opera to soulful R&B and Afrobeat. And the fashion? That's where it got revolutionary. Amina reached out to 10 black designers who'd been rejected by major fashion houses. Young, bold, visionary talents, some of them still sewing out their kitchens. She gave them a platform. Each got their own collection space inside the boutique, branded under a new sub-label called Maison Noire, the future of fashion. Customers from around the world began flying in just to see it. And they bought. Oh, they bought. In the first quarter under Amina's leadership, the boutique generated more sales than the previous 3 years combined. It wasn't just business. It was history. But Amina didn't stop there. She launched fashion mentorship programs in inner-city schools. She offered scholarships for young black women studying design and business. She created paid internships that didn't require college degrees. The boutique became a place of purpose, not just profit. It held weekend fashion shows featuring young models from underserved communities. Parents brought their kids just to show them that, yes, we belong here too. There was a power in the air that you couldn't describe, but you could feel it. It was healing. It was justice stitched into fabric. Weeks after the reopening, something unexpected happened. The former doorman, the one who had blocked Amina at the entrance, showed up at the boutique. He wasn't in uniform, just jeans and a baseball cap, holding something in his hand. A letter. He asked to see Amina. Reluctantly, her assistant agreed. When he walked into her office, he didn't speak at first, just stared at the floor. "I was wrong," he finally said. Amina didn't say a word. She waited. "I judged you. I assumed things about you. And I'm sorry. I lost my job because of it. And honestly, I deserve that. But I wanted you to know I've learned from it." He handed her the letter and turned to leave. Amina opened it later that night. Inside was a handwritten apology and a thank you. He said he was now volunteering with a nonprofit that helped formerly incarcerated black men re-enter the workforce. Her quiet power had created ripples in places she never imagined. Months passed. Maison Noire continued to rise. Other luxury brands took notes, tried to copy her style, her tone, her empowerment model. But they couldn't replicate the soul. One evening, Amina stood outside the boutique just as the sun began to set. The glow at the sign above the entrance. It no longer said Maison Renard. Now, in bold gold letters, it read, Maison Walker, named after her mother, the woman who cleaned houses during the day and worked midnight shifts so her daughter could dream bigger. Inside, customers of every shade browsed. Staff greeted everyone with warmth, dignity, and respect. This wasn't just a store. It was a sanctuary. It was a crisp morning in Los Angeles when Amina's executive assistant burst into her office holding an envelope. "Special delivery," she said with a grin, placing the crisp white envelope on the desk. Emblazoned on the front, in swirling gold script, were the words, Paris Fashion Week, Official invitation. Amina raised an eyebrow. She hadn't applied, hadn't asked, but there it was, an invitation to the most exclusive fashion event in the world. The kind of gathering where only the richest, whitest, and most connected names in couture were welcome. Inside the envelope, the note was brief. You've caused a stir, Ms. Walker. We like to see what all the noise is about. Front row access granted. Welcome to Paris. The Fashion Council of Europe. Amina chuckled. Noise, huh? She knew what this was. They didn't respect her. Not yet. They were curious, maybe even threatened. A young black billionaire who disrupted an entire legacy fashion brand and made it more profitable than ever. She was shaking the table they had comfortably sat at for decades. But Amina wasn't one to shy away from confrontation. She was about to walk in and own the room. 2 weeks later, Amina arrived in Paris. But she didn't show up dripping in gold or with 10 assistants trailing her. She came wearing a custom outfit created by one of her young black designers, a daring Afrofuturist-inspired piece that blended Ankara fabric with modern couture cuts. When she stepped onto the red carpet outside the Grand Palais, cameras froze. Reporters rushed in, flashing bulbs lighting up her face as murmurs filled the air. Who made your gown? Is it true you own the Walker Boutique in L.A.? Are you planning to launch in Europe? Amina smiled, nodded politely, and kept walking. Graceful, grounded, unshaken. Inside, she took her front row seat next to celebrities, royalty, and titans of fashion. Some side-eyed her. Others whispered. A few smiled nervously. But she didn't flinch. When the show began, it was clear. The old guard was struggling to stay relevant. The designs were tired, predictable, uninspired. Later that evening, at a private gala hosted by the council, she mingled with top designers. Many were cordial. A few were fake. One, a high-profile European fashion mogul, approached her with a smirk. So, the American Cinderella. You caused quite the scene in L.A., he said, sipping champagne. Amina turned to him, poised. Not a scene. A shift. He scoffed. You think a few sales and Instagram posts are a shift? She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. I don't think it, she said slowly. I know it, because while your brands beg for relevance on TikTok, I'm building a legacy powered by culture, by community, and by innovation. You sell exclusivity. I'm selling empowerment. And the world is hungry for it. He blinked. She walked away. Back in L.A., her boutique, now renamed Maison Walker, became a global symbol. Fashion students from Kenya, Brazil, Jamaica, and South Korea sent videos saying how Amina's story inspired them to launch their own designs. Online sales exploded. She partnered with African fabric artisans to bring authentic, ethical materials into her next seasonal line, directly funding villages and small businesses on the continent. She hired an all-female executive board. She opened a second boutique in New York. And then she made her boldest move yet. She launched the Walker Fashion Fellowship, a program that gave full funding, housing, mentorship, and business training to 100 young designers of color every year. Each fellowship winner debuted their line, an annual fashion showcase, streamed worldwide. The fashion industry couldn't ignore her anymore. What began as an insult had grown into a movement. Netflix approached Amina with an idea, a documentary series titled Walker Path, the Amina Walker story. She initially declined. She wasn't interested in fame. She didn't want her story told through a corporate lens. But then she had a better idea. She agreed, but only if she got full creative control. The documentary became a 6-part series, not just about her, but about the people behind her success. Her mother, her designers, the kids in Atlanta who first tested her code app, the fashion interns who slept in cars to chase their dreams. It premiered globally and shattered records. Critics praised it as raw, unfiltered, and revolutionary. Young black girls watched the final episode with tears in their eyes. One quote from the series went viral. They didn't want me in their store, so I built my own, and now they need a seat at my table. While Amina's empire grew, Maison Renard, under the original leadership, crumbled. The French parent company struggled to regain footing. They attempted diversity campaigns, hired a few consultants, launched performative ads. But it was too late. Their reputation was damaged beyond repair. In a last-ditch effort, they sent Amina a proposal to collaborate, co-brand, merge. She declined without hesitation. "I don't collaborate with gatekeepers who locked the doors and threw away the key," she told her board. A few years later, Maison Renard filed for bankruptcy. The building that once bore its name, Amina bought it, turned it into a fashion museum celebrating black designers across history. Years passed. Amina stood at the back of a classroom in Atlanta, where a group of 12-year-olds were sketching outfits on paper. It was a free Saturday fashion program, funded through her foundation. One little girl turned to her and said, "Miss Amina, I want to make clothes like you someday." Amina knelt beside her. "Not like me," she said with a smile. "You'll make something better. I just kicked down the door. You get to build the castle." At the grand reopening of her global flagship store in Johannesburg, South Africa, Amina gave a speech broadcast live. "When they told me I didn't belong, I believed them for 5 seconds. Then I remembered who I was. A child of strength, a woman of purpose, a leader not by chance, but by choice. This store isn't about clothes. It's about dignity. It's about representation. And most of all, it's about reminding every little black girl that her skin is not a reason to be denied. It's the reason to keep walking." The crowd rose to its feet. Tears, applause, thunderous cheers. Amina didn't just win. She changed the game. So remember this. They told her she wasn't welcome. They blocked the door. They laughed behind glass walls, thinking she didn't matter. But she didn't argue. She didn't beg. She bought the whole damn building. And now, her name is carved into the architecture of fashion history. Like my video and subscribe my channel for more daily videos.